Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's series. Today, this Wednesday, uh, the 6th of November 2024. These are series of programs that we do run here on our platforms every Wednesday at 18 hours. Hosted by the Alliance for Community Action as well as on Lungu Gabriel's page. Um, this activity is part of the ACA's Ask CDF project, which is being implemented in Chipata, Chipangali, and Lumezi districts of Eastern Province, with the support from the USAID Local Impact Governance Project uh, in 2024. So today I have some hosts, which at a later stage will ask them to introduce themselves. Um, uh, so we are beginning our program. So today we are looking at transparency and accountability in the management of the Constituency Development Fund, fostering transparency and accountability in the management of the Constituency Development Fund. I'm joined by three guests who introduce themselves when the time is right. We'll give them a platform where they will also tell us more about themselves, what they do, where they are coming from, in the spaces where they're coming from. Remember, these are series of programs brought to you by the Alliance for Community Action under the Ask CDF project, which is being implemented in Chipata, Chipangali, and Lumezi districts of Eastern Province, with the support from the USAID Local Impact Governance Project. You'll be joining us here on Facebook. If you have any comments, question regarding to the topic at hand today, please feel free to leave.
I'm in a meeting.
Please do leave your comment. Do leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll be able to read your comment, to read your question, as well as to respond. We have a wonderful panel. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Gabriel Lungu, and I'm hosting three guests today. I will give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and also to say something about where they're coming from, or which organization or platform or space they are representing. So I'll begin with Machisa Zimba. Please, you can unmute your mic. When you are done, you can also do the same to mute your mic so that others will be able to say to avoid getting feedback. Mr. Machisa. Mr. Machis, are you there? Okay, we go to Marjorie. I think Mr. Machis is having network challenges. Marjorie, you can introduce yourself.
My name is Tembo. I am the Chief Executive Officer stroke founder of Visionary Women Initiatives, Zambia. So, Visionary Women Initiatives is a woman-led
Oh, Marjorie, are you there? Seems we've lost you. Marjorie.
in youths. This is 50% female and 50% male youths, 50% children, 50% boys and 50% girls. That's 100% children. And then we are more of 90% biased to women, and we have a component of about 10% for men. This is why we're saying it. They are cross-cutting. So in whatever we do, we still have that component of men. And our focus, despite being women and children, we look at thematic areas that are to do with health, environment, education, empowerment, name it, anything that the livelihood of women and children in Zambia. And for now, we are in operation in the Eastern Province, mainly Chipata, I would say, and Mambo for now, although we plan to scale out to the entire province before we can scale out to the entire country. So for now, I would say that's maybe what you need to know about Visionary Women. Even as we discuss the topic today of CDF transparency and accountability, we are going to really incline ourselves to how this relates to our day-to-day living, considering men, women, and children are people that these initiatives are meant to assist. So thank you so much, Gabriel, for having me. Thank you so much to the listeners. We hope that we're going to have a good time together on this platform. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Marjorie. We go to Lamek. Lamek, please, you can introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Lamek Chezopiri. I am the zone representative for Itra Zone, Didika Ward, as well as the WADEC secretary. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek. Good to have you on this program. Mr. Machisa, you are back. Um, are you able to get what we are saying here? Can you hear us?
I'm I'm getting you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, loud and clear. So we are doing the introduction. So kindly introduce yourself and the space or platform where you're coming from.
Okay, so my name is Bashir, as already alluded to by the moderator, Mr. Charabe Lungu, and I'm happy to be here on this platform to discuss issues of youth. I'm a human rights activist on issues of persons with disabilities. I do my work around promoting the rights and defending the rights of issues of persons with disabilities, as well as making sure that whatever is happening, the government, the community, the province, the inclusion of persons with disability in any development. Um, I think in brief, that's what I can say. I don't know whether you want just for me to talk about the institutions I represent. I don't know, but brief, what I can say.
All right.
Hello?
Thank you very much, Mr. Machisa. You can be assisted to switch off the video if that's possible, so that the video should be muted. We'll be able to get loud and clear because of network challenges. The video get to disturb the network, it becomes weak. Um, Thank you very much, Marjorie Chisematembo. Thank you very much, Lameki Chichezo Piri, for joining through. Um, so when we're talking about CDF, in case for those that have just joined us and they do not have much knowledge about CDF, what CDF is, um, can you please define or maybe tell us what is CDF and also describe the processes which are there for one to benefit from the initiative? We understand to say a lot has happened in the previous 3 years regarding to the Constituency Development Fund, but tell us what is it and how can one benefit, especially women and youths. We begin with Mr. Lamek. Mr. Lamek, are you there?
Hello,
Okay, we got. Yes,
are you hearing me?
yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. Thank you so much for giving me this time, or rather an opportunity to explain more about CDF. CDF is an abbreviation for Constituency Development Fund. This is the monies which the government has put in place to develop our places, our communities, more especially from the community, the constituency level. The CDF is divided into four components, where there is the community projects, the loans, the grants, which we call it Youth and Women's Empowerment Fund. Then there is the bursaries. So CDF, it is mainly decided by the community itself as to which project is supposed to be done. Where community project is concerned, the zonal representative who is part of the WDC will sit with the communities to decide on which project they should start with, or on which project they should carry out using the CDF fund. They will sit and decide depending on the challenges facing the communities. Then they will prioritize and select which one to start with. Then the zonal representative will take it through to the WDC, because it is coming from the entire ward. The constituency is divided into wards, and the wards also are divided into zones. That's where the zone leaders are, and that's where they sit and come up with the projects. Once all the zones convene the meeting and decide which projects they are supposed to start with, they come with their project proposals. Their projects, they come with it at the ward level, where they sit and see which one should be done first. All the projects, they are important, but there are projects which are supposed to be the priorities, the most needed projects. Those are the projects which maybe people cannot do without. So they sit and decide and agree consecutively to say, okay, in our ward we are going to begin with this project. Then they minute it and take it through to the CDFC, which is the Constituency Development Fund Committee. That's where now they decide upon seeing how it is. They will recommend and see to say, okay, this one we are going to fund it. Then that is in short concerning the community project. Then again, there's the part of grants. Grants are given to groups. Again, the WDC has to go back into the community, who is the general representative, going back to the community, sitting down with the groups. They are encouraged, more especially the cooperatives, to apply for the grants, because according to the policy and the guidelines for the CDF, it is not, the grant is not supposed to be given to an individual. It is supposed to be given to a group of of people, the group of maybe 15 and to somewhere maybe yeah, 15 and more. They sit and come up with maybe a cooperative or maybe a club which they register it. After registering it, then they can apply and be considered depending on what they have applied for. Then again, there is what we call loans. These loans also they are given. These loans now they are given even to an individual who is having at least a registered business name. They are they are they are they can apply and take part in or maybe applying and getting the loan. Otherwise, it cannot be given to some people who does not have anything, who doesn't do any business. It is given to people who has the business names and they are registered. Then again, they are the part of the bursaries, secondary school and skills bursaries. The community also be sensitized and the youths are advised to apply regardless of the status, whether they're disabled or they are supposed to apply, then they get the bursaries, they go to school, they go for skills, they go to those who are in the boarding schools, they can apply. They only give bursaries to those who are in the boarding schools where there are some fees, because this time around the government has introduced a free education, of which some of these schools they are not paying anything. So such schools, such students, they are not supposed to apply for bursaries unless to the schools which they have to pay. So that's how they can benefit from the bursaries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek Piri, for that explanation. It's quite educative and very interesting to note about the processes and who can benefit. Marjorie, do you have something to add on? Marjorie, are you there?
Can you
Hello,
hear me?
Marjorie. Yes, I
Yes,
can hear
can you
you
hear
now.
me?
Yes, I
Okay,
can hear
yes.
you
So I
now.
was saying he has really very well explained it, and just maybe to add on, it would suffice to mention that CDF is actually the legal constitution of Zambia. So it is sanctioned and approved by Parliament under the Article 162 of the Constitution of Zambia. And so, as citizens, we should actually be aware that this is our tool for development. It is not coming from maybe any specific political party, but it is a right that each and every Zambian citizen should actually enjoy. Thank you, Gabriel.
All right. Thank you very much, Marjorie. Mr. Machisa, do you have anything to add on?
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Machisa.
Yes, yes. So I think just to add on, first of all, I want to appreciate what the Salamek has, explained in terms of the tax CDF is and what Marjorie has said. Just to add on, CDF is a part of a decentralization program. Here in Zambia, since 2000, we have been crying. If you look at our background of Zambia's economic history and political history, maybe decision-making history, people have been saying to say let's have decentralized government where things are decentralized. Citizens are able to make decisions at community level. No wonder why CDF is responding to decentralization. And suffice to say that in Zambia, CDF was in 1995. It started as an act by then, and it was also supposed to, the main goal was to make sure that constituencies are developed, and also to support I think to respond to people's needs in the community. Then maybe another quickly brief history that this of CDF has also been used in other countries like Sri Lanka, where it started as what we call community-based monitoring system. It's one of the courses in some of the universities, community-based monitoring system under Zambia development. There is a department here in Zambia where people have been, Zambia Development Research Development Center, ZRDC, where it was researched in the world, countries like Sri Lanka, where they found that it really worked well. And now we are trying it here in Zambia. And when the UPND came into power, they found it at 1.6 million, and now 36.1 million, somewhere there. I think briefly that's what I just add on.
All right. Thank you very much, Marjorie. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek. Thank you very much, Mr. Machisa, for that explanation. At least we got something, and we are able to say if we want to benefit, we as young people, women out there, we will be able to follow the right procedure, as well as the knowledge that we are getting here. On this platform. Remember, if you've just joined us, this activity is part of the SCA's Ask CDF project, which is being implemented in Chipata, Chipangali, and Lumezi District of Eastern Province with the support from the USAID Local Impact Governance Project. Now, we understand that during the introduction, I heard Marjorie being the CEO and the founder of an organization, Mr. Machisa coming from the community, the human rights defenders community, where he talks about human rights, as well as Mr. Lamek, who happened to be the ward development committee member. I understand that all of us, we've got different roles that we play in one way or the other. So where we are, maybe as a civil society, Marjorie, what is your role with regards to make sure that there is transparency, accountability in the management of the Constituency Development Fund? What is your role, having been worked with women or still working with women?
Yes, as a civil society organization, we ensure that we are always abreast with the happenings of our country, in a way that we know that there are a lot of policies that are passed, and so much of these policies hardly reach the people at the grassroots. Why? The reasons are many, especially as we deal with women. We know that most women have a very low educational background, and the fact that we can call them illiterate really borders around the understanding of much of these policies that are passed. And so our role as a civil society organization is to analyze the policies and see what the policies really have to offer, and what the policies really have to guarantee. So in the end, as a civil society organization, we make sure that we interpret the policies after analyzing them to women, depending with how they affect them. Because we know that, for example, CDF has a component of women. Very few actually will come to learn about these benefits if there's no one to take the information down to where they are found in these communities. So we as visionary women, we interpret this policy, we explain to the women in the community what CDF is and how they can benefit. And so, like Mr. Lamek explained, that to benefit, you need to be legally registered, you need to have certificates, meaning you need to be in grouping. And so, these are the things we take to the women in the community so that they form these groupings, get registered, and if they can apply for these grants or the loans to help them really start their own empowerments. In the end, this is like taking development to the grassroots in their own communities. Besides doing that, the grassroots citizens, as civil societies, it is also our role to help with the monitoring of these CDF loans, for example, that the women get, by making sure that we follow up. If we had guided them and they managed to get, we just check with them how they're managing the businesses. It could be a loan or a grant, how they're paying back the loan. That is supposed to be the role of a civil society where the CDF is concerned. So otherwise, there are a lot of roles that we can play besides at community level. We can also do social accountability with government to see how these budgets, the CDF is disbursed in constituencies and how it is monitored throughout the whole process and procedure. But this is something really that if we were to discuss here, can take us forever, because besides these roles that we have, it's through these roles again that we discover that there are a lot of lacunas in the disbursement and implementation of CDF. So as civil societies, if we don't pinpoint out these lacunas, chances are that CDF implementation might never improve. And if we don't encourage why it is already doing well, chances are that the the benefits might not really come out. So we play a very important role as civil society, both to the government and also to the beneficiaries in our community of this CDF. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Quite interesting. Mr. Machisa, what is the role of a human rights defender? You talked of, we talked of, at the beginning, we said this CDF is something that is an act of parliament which started in 1995. You talked of decentralization, what the current government has done in terms of increasing the CDF from 1.6 to 25.7 million, then from 25.7 million to 28.3 million, then where we are now to 30.6 million. So, what is your role as a human rights defender, and of course, speaking to represent people with disabilities? What is your role?
Yes, so our role as a human rights defender, at the same time as a chairperson, I represent what is called the Eastern Province Network of Organizations for Persons with Disabilities. This network has got organizations for persons with disabilities, different organizations. They are under this network or this alliance. A network is just same as an alliance of organizations. We have organizations that represent persons who are visually impaired. We have organizations that represent persons who are deaf. There are also organizations that represent people who are physical disabilities, those who move with a wheelchair, or maybe have the legs, or maybe hands. We have people who are the mental user, health, the intellectual. Children with disabilities, parents with children. So different groupings. That's what I lead. Now, responding to your question, immediately when the CDF came, first of all, as a disability movement, as persons with disabilities, we were happy here in Eastern Province. Now, let me talk about issues of bursary. First, when the CDF came, when it was increased from 1.6, what happened is there is in the guidelines, they say that those who should benefit in terms of bursaries, they should boarding school. Now, here in Eastern Province, if you talk about persons with disabilities, especially, please, I'm underlining the word especially, those who are blind, they are voting. We know of Magro School for the Deaf and Magro School for the Blind here in Chipata, 21 kilometers away from Chipata, town. Now, we went to the government, but by then they were meeting because we at Maguero, two Maguero School for the Deaf and Maguero School for the Blind, we have people in preschool up to grade 12. So we went to government to the council. Why is it that you are saying they should date, but we have learners who are in preschool to grade 7 who need the bursary? Because like at Maguero, this school is a boarding school and it's a grant aided, and they are paying fees. So we had different meetings. First of all, we engaged the local council in East Province, Chipata. We had a meeting with them, explaining to them the challenge. We had a meeting with the permanent secretary, local government, and rural development, both physical and online and on radio live. Then we also had meetings with the national level with the by then early 2022 in Lusaka. This meeting was presented by the political advisor to the president, Mr. Leon Ngoma, as well as the Honorable Minister Doreen Mwamba. We engaged national level. So there's this challenge that I've explained of learners with disabilities. And suffice to say that we thank the government. They listened to us as we are talking right now, even those who are in primary, who are learning at Magro School for the Blind and Magro School for the Deaf. They are now on bursary. Kudos to the government, not only in Chipata, but countrywide. If you talk about like St. Mlumba in Choma, Southern Province, Chepela in Kualemba, Ukundo, Lions in Belt, countrywide. This challenge was countrywide, but we thank God that now these learners can go to school and they can be sponsored under bursary in these boarding schools, special boarding schools. So as I'm talking right now on this platform, I know there are people who are following us, who are listening, or who are following us on Facebook. In case here in Eastern Province, you have a child who is visually impaired or who is deaf, you might be in Tasefu, Chama, Lumezi, Nimba, wherever you are. Please take these children to my, because we have already advocated for their space in terms of body that is they are now benefiting. There is no way that people in this century, 21st century, they should be hidden in houses, the children with disabilities, and give their opportunities there. The CDF has provided opportunity. There's the other angle. We, as a network of, as an organization of persons with disabilities, we also do what we call publicity, information sharing to persons with disabilities, our members. We do it in using three, say up to 4 approaches. The first approach, we have radio programs where we talk about this issue of CDF. We have radio programs on Smooth FM on Monday, 9 hours to 10 hours, but even Breeze, on Radio 3, on Feel Free, different radio stations here, in Chipata. That's number one, radio programs. Number two, we meet our members through in groups, physical meeting. We have been to Kasenengwa, Gabriel and Major and Lamek. We have been to Kasenengwa. We have been in the rural of Eastern Province. We have been to Chipangali, where we gather people, we come together, then we talk about issues of DF. Even around Chipata, we go to Kagunda, places like Magatin, Kapata, Marefrenda, Muchini, everywhere persons with disabilities are, we talk to them. That is approach, number two. The number three, we speak to them one-on-one, where we say, no, please, people, register for this, apply for CDF. We also explain the procedures. In fact, in 2020, I remember even up to now we have continued. We go physically to cooperative. We give them. We go to the council. We get the forms. we give them and we explain to them, we interpret what they mean, what it means, so that they understand. That is the fourth approach, whereby we even get the forms and we give them so that people can explain. I think where there is a challenge, we go back to the council to tell them that here there is a challenge. I think let me maybe end here regarding this question. I know we are still.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Machisa. Mr. Lamek, you being a member of the Ward Development Committee, what is your role when it comes to the Constituency Development Fund?
Thank you so very much. As a WDC member, we are playing a very noble role, a very bigger role on the CDF programs. For we are the conveyor belt which transport or which transmit information from the government to the community, as well from the community to the government. As WDCs, there are guidelines on how to administer the CDF programs, which needs understanding from the WDCs to the community. So our role is to get the information, the full information from the WDC office or the CDF office to the community. We educate people how to apply. We educate people how to come up with the projects, to identify projects, to prioritize projects, and how to link up with the authorities. That's our role. Even how to do the application on the grants, applications on bursaries, because people there in the communities, most of them, they are just here that there is bursaries. They don't know how bursaries can be acquired. So it takes the WDC to go down there, sitting down with the communities, try to sensitize them, try to make them understand. If there is something that is sometimes difficult for just a mere person to understand or a community member to understand, is on how to access balloons. So it takes the WDC sitting down, beginning to tell them how to go about applying, so that they understand how to go about applying. Because all what they know and they hear is that there is CDF. Most of them, they think CDF is just in town. So it's our role to tell them, to say, no, CDF is for you. And it's not only for town people, it's for everyone. Everyone has the right to good healthy. Everyone has the right to good water. Everyone has the right to education. So we tell them like that, to teach them how to go about at least acquiring good health, acquiring good water, acquiring good education through CDF. So we play a very big role. People in the communities, most of them, they did not go to school. So it takes at least being closer with them and begin to explain all the necessities for them to acquire whatever they are intending to have. Maybe they want the projects, the community projects, instead of just saying, okay, the government is not helping us. It's our role to go down there and say, okay, there is this problem here. Let's sit down and find solution. Okay, there is CDF. We can do A, B, C, D, so that we are helped. Maybe they want water, for them to be helped, let us do this and that. So it's us to explain how to go about acquiring whatever developmental programs they would want to get from the government. So again, not only that, there are a lot of problems which the government cannot know, because the president himself, he is very far, maybe in Lusaka. He cannot go around the country or maybe the communities at one time and find the problems which people are going through. So it is through us as WDCs going down there and convey the information to the government, or rather to the president of the government, to say, okay, in this community there is the problem of water, in this community there is the problem of ABCD. So we are acting as the conveyor belt which transmit the information from the government to the people, as well as from the people to the government. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek. In case you've just joined us, today we are talking about the fostering social accountability and transparency in the management of the Constituency Development Fund. And I have with me on the panel Marjorie Chisema Tembo, Lamek Piri, as well as Machisa Zimba, discussing the Constituency Development Fund. Remember, this activity is part of the SCA Ask CDF project, which is being implemented in Chipata, Chipangali, and Lumezi District of Eastern Province with the support from the USAID Local Impact Governance Project. Now, we get to you, Marjorie. Is there transparency in the distribution of these resources under the CDF, ranging from the call to application to the disbursement of fund? Is there transparency in the way CDF is being managed?
Thank you, Gabriel. To go a spade a spade, let's not beat around the bush around this. CDF in Zambia lacks transparency. So why I'm saying there's no transparency is we've talked about communities being aware. Yes, as much as they're aware, they'll fill in the application, submit this application, but then they'll not be aware at what point these contract awardings will be done. And so everyone will just submit and will be waiting. There is no feedback after submission that people will be told to say, when are we reviewing so that maybe you can be present, witness the opening of the bids. So during contract awarding, I can say there's no transparency because people are supposed to be called to say others who bidded come so that you witness the opening of the bids and so that you get to know if you've qualified or not. And so people just wait and wait and wait. You just get surprised or shocked to be called and say your application qualified. Sometimes people even give up. So there's no transparency now in contract awarding. Then two, even the monitoring process itself. So you expect that when people give these loans, grants, for example, contracts, they're supposed to be a systematic way and tools of monitoring these projects. This is government, citizens' funds, by
Marjorie, are you there?
any challenges, if there are any successes. But believe you me, if there are people who have access to these reports, they're very few. So these reports never even get back to the communities. We're talking decentralization here. And so decentralization should just mean everything should even reach the person who is in the remotest of the areas in Zambia. If they heard there is CDF, they heard people are getting it. Even if they're not direct beneficiaries, people deserve to hear on how these grants, these loans, these projects are faring. People need as a country. Besides that, you expect that community should be involved. For example, there is no community involvement. So community involvement simply means, like we said, people should be aware. Yes, we are trying the best we can to inform those we work with. VWI is only but a baby organization, and the people we are reaching are not in all these communities. Maybe we're going to 29 villages out in just one district, for example, in Mambo. But then you discover that Zambia has a lot of villages. Talk about just townships. But how many people know? There can be one cooperative that was granted maybe a CDF grant. And if you ask anyone in that community, people are not aware. But if people were aware in areas like that to say we have a cooperative here that was granted, they'll even follow up as community members, knowing that is citizens' money. So people are not involved. Communities are never engaged. Why? It's because there's lack of open communication to inform these community members on what CDF really is and how they can access it, how they can monitor it, and only very few people are aware of it. So this is where CDF, we can say, lacks transparency. Besides that, there's also, I would say, lack of accountability. I think I also mentioned already about around this. So if the local authorities can just have accountability procedures to go back and just communicate to the applicants, if you failed, where did we not do well in the application, maybe? Instead, they just keep quiet. And the people who apply also don't follow up to find out where did we not do well. And so because of that, would say there's very, very little accountability, if at all it is there. So above all, it's really sad that here we are talking about a CDF that was launched way back. We've talked about years here where the legal framework it falls. Like latest, I would say it was revised this year, but it was started to be implemented around 2018. But up to now, we have people who don't know about it. So this is where we say transparency lacks in the implementation of CDF. But anyway, not all is bad. We hear now that as a government, we are trying to develop a tool that can help citizens follow up, hold government accountable, help with monitoring. So if that smart Zambia tool is maybe put to actualization, probably, hopefully, that's something that can help the citizens really move on the same pace with the CDF program. But then when can that be? We don't know. In the end, all we can just say is let's hope we can have room for transparency. When people speak out like we are speaking now, hope government picks up issues like this and see how they can just improve in areas where the program is not running well, so that together we make the best out of these funds. Believe you me, this is money. When you talk about 30.8 million in a constituency, that's a lot of money. So this is money that we need to put to good use if we are to alleviate the poverty levels that we are currently suffering in Zambia. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Marjorie. Mr. Machisa, do you want to add? Mr. Machisa Zimba, are you there? Do you want to add? Okay, we go to Mr. Lamek. Do you want to add on the question posed area? Is there transparency and accountability in the distribution of these resources under the Constituency Development Fund, ranging from the call for application to the disbursement of funds? Do you want to make a contribution? Hello there, Marjorie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. I thought maybe I was talking to myself. Um, seems
No.
seems we've lost Mr. Lamek. Mr. Lamek, you are there. Can you hear me? Okay, we proceed. I think he's going to join us later.
Hmm.
Might be network challenges. Now, you've talked of these gaps that are there with regards to transparency and accountability in the management of the Constituency Development Fund. Do you have proposals
Hello?
to make to say, okay, yes, Mr. Lamek, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear
I
me?
was on the floor. Yes.
Oh, you were, yeah, but you couldn't hear you. Sorry. Okay. Please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I was saying there is inadequate transparency, more especially in the community projects. The transparency, it's just there when we are applying for the projects. Once the project is approved and it has been funded, we don't even know where the contractor, the process of awarding the contract is concerned. We don't even know where the contractors are coming from. The BOQ, we don't know. We just know where we just know that okay, we have applied for this contract, for this project, and it has been approved. So the implementation is not known. We just see the contractor is coming on site. Then it even becomes very difficult for us to do the monitoring, because you can only monitor well where you know how much is involved, where you know what is supposed to be done. So we see there are certain things which are need to be put in place, more especially in community involvement. They should at least know to say, okay, this project which we have been given, it is costing so much. And when people know that the project which they have been given costs so much, they will even take a good care of that project, knowing that it is involved. There's a lot of money involved, and that money is supposed to be utilized with a lot of care. So a situation where we only know and get involved when we apply, when we identify the project and we apply for that project. Then after that, we leave everything in the hands of maybe the engineers and the council itself to continue with the project. I think I see there is a degree of lack of transparency, because even the monitoring cannot be done adequately. You can only monitor or maybe see or maybe have a say on something that you know. There are some situations where you see even maybe a school is being built. You applied for a school and the contractor has come on the site. He start working on a school, or maybe a CRB one, maybe one or two by 1 by 2 CRB. You don't know how much is supposed to be, how much, or maybe the quality of materials they're supposed to use. So you just see them building. It becomes very difficult to say, no, what you are doing is not the right job, or maybe to recommend on what you are seeing, because you don't know how much it is involved. So there is some kind of maybe uh, yeah, lack of transparency somehow there. And moreover, it becomes very difficult even to stop the contractor to do whatever job he may be doing, substandard job he may be doing, because you don't know how much it is involved. You hear, no, we are just giving you what we have been paid for. The job that which we are doing here, it is equivalent to the money that we have been given. But because we don't know how much, we cannot say anything. So there is really uh, there's nothing like transparency projects are concerned, more especially on the implementation stage. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek. Mr. Machisa, you had been thrown out. I think you are experiencing network challenges. But I hope you got the question. The question is on, is there transparency and accountability in the management of the Constituency Development Fund? What's your contribution?
Okay, so first of all, my contribution is that I think on the issues of transparency, I think we need to do. There's need for who are in charge of implementing CDF uh, to up their game, because we haven't seen so much transparency. I think there is no transparency. Why I say there is no transparency is because of the following points that I have. That I know other points maybe have already been spoken by Marjorie and Lambe. Number one, first of all, when people have applied like cooperatives, there is no a feedback to say you have failed, you are applied, you maybe your application failed because of ABC. Because when people have applied and you have seen that they have failed, others haven't qualified, there's need to explain, there's need to either have a detailed information of how many cooperatives applied, how many failed, and the reasons why they failed, and which are those. There's need to publish in the public. For those who can read, let them read. Through radio, in the CDF, there is a percentage. I think it's about 1.5 million. Someone will correct me. I don't know what correct W and the other. But there is a percentage for publicity that is about 1.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that money, in my understanding that is used for sensitization, as well as informing people where they at the every stage when they are applying, they inform them. Now we are stage of selecting. They're supposed to use that money to inform people whether to buy microphone, going into communities. But we haven't seen this happening. We haven't seen this happening. We, as person disability organizations, we hope some in the role. There's one cooperative in small. They brought us to our office. These people, they were not communicated to whether they were successful or not, but they were just shocked that they didn't get a seat. There are a number of even individual persons who have come to us to say, no, we haven't been given. And some people, because of lack of this feedback, Gabriel and the other two gates, some people are now beginning to think that maybe CDF is a scam. And it is not a scam. I'm saying some people now begin to say maybe CDF is a scam, maybe it's a myth, maybe it's something in Zoche's rapport, a story of which it is not. Lack of feedback. People, I know on this platform, Facebook, there are people who are following different answers. Please follow what we are giving these advices. Then another issue why it was transparency is that I think at the time when projects have or cooperatives have been approved, as others have already said, there's need that you call members of the community, those who can, so that they come and they listen for them to say, this leader, you did this application where they applied like this made a mistake here. Because now it is quiet, so we don't know. That's why some people say, there are a lot of things if you go in the community there. I'm not saying that's the correct position. I'm saying some people are speculating because of there's no feedback, correct feedback. So I think there's need to enhance transparency in the disbursement of CDF and also monitoring CDF project. And how can an institution that is based in CDF or doing projects also monitor itself? Is it possible? You remain that again, you also monitor yourself. What are you monitoring yourself? This need to put in place independent mechanisms on how we can monitor CDF projects, on how we can monitor how are people getting how are they getting, how's the CDF done. Then another thing, for now, in some households up now, if the money which were we don't know whether budget year 2023 whether budget 2024 with And by 22, there is no information. Segregated information that will tell you there's no the funds that people have got from this budget. So I think as we go recommendations. Thank you, Raisa.
Marjorie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we proceed. I think I was hardly getting Mr. Machisa's because of network. I think. Now that you've talked to. Hello, Mr. Machisa.
Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. But we have another question, so that now we begin to wind up.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, looking at all these challenges that you've mentioned, I believe there are all bigger challenges. What are your recommendations in less than a minute, Mr. Machisa? What are your recommendations? The ones that you're recommending the government and as well as the ministry responsible handling the constituent development fund. What are your recommendations?
Okay, so my follows. First of all, there is need to enhance transparency, enhance to effectively involve the members of the community. Like for us who are coming from people, we want to know, we want to have information as quick as possible. When the applications are on, you need to know the information that this time people can apply, and people should have information on what should they apply, how should they apply, how should they come up with a project proposal. But it shouldn't be, people have to be guided, and when they are doing it, need that members of communities are invited so that we also monitor what being done is right. The to put in place that I think the council should be studying itself. This is the reason why there are some doing projects, right projects done in a wrong way. So I think there is a lot that needs to be addressed. I think it's said in a, I think let me end here.
Management of the Constituency Development Fund.
Hello.
Yes, Marjorie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think generally, like Mr. Machisa said, there is need to revisit the CDF structure at all levels, from the application stage to the disbursement stage, monitoring stage, and also the implementation stage, with education at all stages, with transparency enhancement at all stages, monitoring at stages, But then this cannot be done with the current structure the way it stands. So there's need for government to really revisit this CDF structure and see how best they can actually incorporate other partners so that government works hand in hand, for example, with CSOs. Because believe you me, the government does not really have a lot of visibility that can help them implement and monitor these projects at grassroots level. And so for as long as the structure remains as it is, these challenges will continue and we shall not see the benefits of the CDF. It's good to note that at disbursements, now CDF has been really handed over to the banks. So banks are handling the disbursement, which is okay. At that point, you can easily follow up and track, and transparency can be detected at disbursement level. But then once cooperatives, individuals, or companies get the money from the bank, there it dies again because banks cannot follow up. It's not their mandate to follow up. And so when the structures really identify at each level the specialists who can handle such data, then we can improve on how CDF will be implemented. The benefits will be seen. So my plea or recommendation is that can government please work hand in hand with other stakeholders who can help at all stages of the CDF to make it come to fruition, to see its actualization. If you revisit the CDFC, the CDF committee, you realize that even its composition really is so unbalanced, very, very unbalanced. So those are the things that need to be revisited to see if that representation really gives a picture of what has to be practical of it. You see one person representing religion, one person representing CSOs, one person. How can one organization representing CSOs trickle down the effect as it is intended? So the idea is good on how I structured it, but the actualization is what is limping. So the recommendation is please can government revisit the entire structure of CDF and see how best they can revise it and make it practical. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lamek, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here, sir.
Yes, your contribution.
Yeah, just to add on what my sister has just been saying, I would still stand on the community projects mainly because I see that's where there is a lot of problems. If you see, there are a lot of unfinished projects. There are certain projects which were done, but it did not take long. It is finished, like roads, because of the way it was being worked on. It's just one season the road is finished. So all these becomes challenges more especially into the communities. So now, for me, I would suggest to say maybe there is a need of adhering to the CDF guidelines, more especially in awarding of contracts. There must be, at least they must avoid the recycled contractors. And moreover, the guidelines states that the ones who are supposed to get the contracts, they are the local contractors. But we see situations where contractors from elsewhere, they come to work to do the job, maybe here in Dirika or maybe elsewhere. But in meanwhile, there are local contractors there. So we see same contractors. Today is given this contract, it does the job, and the job is should be job. Then the other year comes, he is also awarded another contract. The same person who failed to do the job area is awarded another contract. There is also scenario in where a contractor is given a contract and he runs away from the site, abandoning the contract, abandoning the project. All those things can be avoided if at all they stick to the guidelines, which says they have to award the contract to local contractors. We have the local contractors which can do better jobs. We have local contractors which we can easily follow if at all they abandon job. But in this scenario where they award contractors, the contract to foreign contractors, maybe which comes from Lusaka because they cross the Luangwa bridge, maybe they can be better than people within Chipata. I think that is a problem, a very big problem. Again, information has to be disseminated to community level through WDC, more especially on the BOQs, so that we know if we have been given a project, we have been awarded a project, this project is funded, we have to know how much money is involved and where is this contractor coming from. Even as we are doing the monitoring, even the accountability, you can't do the accountability if you don't know what you are accounting for. You see, so I think on that one, we really pray that at least things should change. And I will also add on as WDCs for us to disseminate information, no adequate information to all our zones because our zones are very big. So for us to go around and disseminate information, any information pertaining the community development among our communities, we need the transport. So we have got no transport, so it becomes difficult for us to move around and make sure that everyone have the information. Of course, people they can get information through the radios, but not everyone has access to the radios, or maybe not everyone is able to read. Others they hear when you gather them and at least explain to them in their own native languages. Then they will be able to understand. They will ask you questions, you'll be able to answer them. But now for us to reach out into our zones throughout the world, we need at least to have transport. So uh, we don't have transport. In short, we don't have transport. The only meetings that we do is only where we can afford to walk and have the meetings. So by so doing, you find that other people they are left out without information. So it becomes very difficult for transparency. I submit.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Machisa. Thank you very much, Marjorie. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamek, for those responses. And in just less than a minute, as we are winding up, less than a minute, I mean less than a minute, what advice do you have to the women and the women, youth, and people with disabilities with regards to benefiting from the Constituency Development Fund? Under a minute. We'll begin with you, Mr. Machisa. Under a minute.
Okay, so and in a, the advice that I have for persons with disabilities, first of all, form form club and apply after forming these register these clubs or cooperative, then apply for CDF. Because who have companies is less couple of companies so that we can apply for CDF. There's also in the desk making of desk key construction. I think persons have to participate in all angles of a project development so that we use format. And when you are given the money, the loan or grant, let us use it to the intended. Because in this country, there is a culture of works. People have been given money maybe to ABD or do other things. And from now, 1 year, they'll go back government. We need to graduate from that because Zambia by 20% wants to become country. So I'm on middle if most of the cities will reach the middle class stage, that is by empowered. Poverty, bad. How let me end. Yes, come on, be down.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Machisa Zimba. We go to Marjorie. Under a minute, what is your advice to women, youths, and people with disabilities?
Thank you. My advice is please, 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 women, youths, and children, let's get keen interests in issues of national development. As a Zambia, we are known even in far-fetched countries overseas that we are people who have a very low culture of reading, for example. And because much of these things we're talking about, for example, CDF guidelines, we are talking about issues of application issues, they require that you get interested in reading, you get interested in questioning, you get interested in being inquisitive in a good way, I would say. So can we please get interested to know what a lot of these government programs are coming and how we can benefit from them. And we can only do this if we get interested. We can only follow up through social accountability if we get interested. So my plea is that can we please get interested in issues of national development, because there can never be a Zambia without us. We are the Zambia. So if we don't develop, meaning Zambia is not developing. So can we take a step to be interested in the development issues of Zambia? Then we're going to develop Zambia. Thank you.
Your contribution in under a minute.
Okay, thank you so much. People living with disabilities, youth, and women, please let us participate in issues of national development. Let us take part. Let us apply and get involved, even in the disseminating of information, so that at least we can develop our communities together. Azimayi ndi amene mukhala na vana ndi amene mmavutika kubwalo uko. Let us participate in national development so that zitikhalire bwino, tikhale osangalala madera athu. Ma youths, dziko lathu itengera ma youths mukatengako mbali, that's when you see things changing. Manje makolo basira bamba kumwalira bambosira ndise mayusi tasala ndidzankhala asogolera wakusogolo. Let us participate so that zinthu ziyende, papezeke kuchinjika ndiponso papezeke chitukuko pakati kathu. Kulemala sindiye kulephera ati disability is not an ability amakamatero wena waziwa vizungu, sindiye kuti kapena ngati ndiwolemala ndiye kuti sungakwanise. Let us participate, let us apply. These monies are for all of us, regardless of a situation or rather a status in ndalama zathu. Let us take part, let us utilize our resources together, ndipo pamene tizaona kuti zinthu zonse zitikhalira bwinobwino. Koma tikati yayi sensolemala tikhale sochabe ndiye kuti tizipwetekateka. Please let us get involved, all of us together. And moreover, nizafuna also kuchita advise those who are in leadership. Please let us involve anzathu who are living with disabilities in decision making positions mumausogolere wathu. Let us not sideline them. Chifukwa ngati vachita sideline, we are making a grave mistake. They will always be complaining. I submit.
Thank you very much, our dear listeners and followers out there. Today, we were looking at fostering accountability and transparency in the management of the Constituency Development Fund. And I had with me on the panel Mr. Lameki Chichezo Piri, Mr. Machisa Zimba, as well as Marjorie Chisema Tembo. For now, we say thank you very much. Remember, this activity is part of the SCA Ask CDF project being implemented in Chipata, Chipangali, and Lumezi District with the support from the USAID Local Impact Governance Project. We'll join again next week on Wednesday at the same time, 18 hours. For me, Lungu Gabriel, we say thank you to our discussants. Thank you to you, the listeners, and who are following us on different platforms, Facebook as well as Twitter, if those that are following us on Twitter. We say thank you till we join again next week on Wednesday at the same time, 18 hours. For now, it's a good evening and bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you. Eh.
Rema. Rema. Hey. Gabriel. Hello. Hello.